Hello! Welcome to Music of the Armenian Liturgy. My name is Armenia Sarkisian. I'm a soprano and composer from Toronto, and this is the first episode of a new series on this channel dedicated to the sharagans, meaning hymns, of the Armenian Mass. I grew up singing these hymns every Sunday in church choir, and they always brought me great musical inspiration and spiritual comfort. So I wanted to create a channel that honored them and also shared them with people who might not have heard them before, because they're just really cool and I think that they should be heard. On this channel, we will focus on a different sharagan every week. We'll discuss what it's about, translate the text, where you would find it in the Mass, a bit about the composers and the arrangers that are responsible for their creation and longevity. And then after that historical background, I'll do a quick musical analysis and then show you the hymn. I'll be performing all the hymns, sometimes by myself, sometimes as a one-woman choir that I recorded in my studio, like the one we're doing today. And sometimes I'll bring in members from my church choir and we'll do a live version for you. Those will be really fun, and you'll get to know everybody as the series progresses. If you want to just skip ahead and go to the hymn, the first one we're doing today is called Verin Yeroosaghem, which is one of my favorites. You're more than welcome to do that, but feel free to stick around, keep watching, and learn more. We find this hymn in the Requiem part of the Mass, as a prayer to help lift the souls of the deceased into the eternal kingdom of heaven. In Armenian, we call the Requiem hokihankist, literally meaning for the soul to rest. The word Requiem comes from earlier in the Mass, right before the Eucharist, when the words Requiem aeternam dona eis Domine, grant them eternal rest, O Lord, are spoken. Hokihankist comes after the celebration of the Eucharist, and Verin Yeroosaghem is one of the final hymns of the Armenian Mass, but we don't sing it every week. We sing it at funerals and on the anniversary of somebody's passing. Okay, we're going to translate the text. Verin Yeroosaghem, in the High Jerusalem, meaning paradise, Penagaranas Hareshtagats, the home of the angels, Ur Yenovk Yevyerias, where Enoch and Elias, two prophets from the Old Testament, Gan Zeratial Agam Nagerb, live in old age akin to doves. Itrachtin Yetemagan by Zeratial Ajanabes, worthily resplendent in the paradise of Eden. Vogormadzder, merciful Lord, Vogormia Hokvotsen Mer Nenchetzelots, have mercy upon the souls of our departed. We do not know who the composer is for the sharagan, but we know that it was arranged by someone named Vartan Sarkisian. Sarkisian's kind of the Smith of Armenian last names, but still. Vartan was born in Constantinople and was a disciple of Gomidas Vartabed. Gomidas is a big deal, and we're going to get to him many times in this series, but for now just put the name in the noggin and I'll put his photo up here, just to remember him for later. These hymns were passed down verbally for generations, so you're going to find variations of many of them, which is why it's also difficult to pinpoint the exact historical period. But in the early 4th century, Armenia was the first state to adopt Christianity as a state religion, and this hymn is a staple in the Armenian Requiem Mass. So there's a high probability that at least the melodic contour, and definitely the text, is over 1,000 years old. If you want to learn a little bit more about Vartan Sarkisian, I'm going to put a little bit of his bio in the description box below. The first thing we'll notice about this hymn is that we're in G Dorian. The keyboard is out of frame. A lot of Armenian hymns are very modal, and what you'll notice about this one is that we never leave the tonal center of G. The progressions are diatonic, but when you have a melody that starts and ends on the root, the basic progression is already implied. Let's have a listen to that. Right, we're always returning to the root. You'll find that the melodic cadences are stronger than the chords for establishing the tonal center here. The characteristic chord progressions for Dorian are minor 1 to major 4th. In this case, G minor to C major. Let's hear the melody on top of that progression. Definitely modal. The only other shifts are fleeting Aeolian moments, solely due to the passing counterpoint in the alto part, which is interesting because this piece was most likely written for a soprano or tenor solo to be sung over a vocal drone. So let's see if we can find that E flat. So the E flat was over here. The central melody never leaves Dorian mode, but these hymns are later arranged for choral settings and sometimes liberties are taken. So the contrapuntal treatment of the melody in this hymn shows that the arranger probably took a few modal liberties. And I'm glad he did, because the alto part is so fun to sing. And let's jump right into the arrangement. Thank you so much for tuning in for this first episode of Music of the Armenian Liturgy. Lots of great stuff coming your way, new shadagans, lots of guests, and a lot of fun material. So please tune in next week. We'll be posting every Tuesday. My name is Armenia, and thanks so much for tuning in.